Hello, Collective. It's Ron over at Becoming Enlightened Together. So, we're going to do another daily read, and we're just going to go ahead and get right up into it. Today's read talks about mostly things from the collective perspective. And I say mostly because there is some things on here that seem to be pretty dire. And that's not to say that it's not from the collective perspective, because we all go through our, trials and tribulations in this journey until the day we die. We do. No matter how much you've raised your vibration, everything else, you're always going to have things come up. And this reading is basically no different in regards to that. So we have everything from, secrets you might have been trying to keep, and they're being revealed very, very soon. And of course, many of the problems that are going to arise as a result of that, clarity with those around you, those in which it affects in some way. But we also have, again, the possibility of death. So that could mean somebody close to you is dying. You could even talk about the death of, a loved animal or something of that nature. It just speaks of death in general, and it can also talk about death in terms, because I see that as well. I did 2 readings already, and they both basically mirror each other in certain aspects, including the one I'm referring to right now. So in one regards, the death is referred to as more like the death of a cycle, or a situation of some type, and a rebirth, or entering into a new phase, or something new in your life. Okay, but the other one is very specific in terms of a mortality type of a situation, somebody expiring, or an animal that was loved expiring, or something like that. Now, the death itself doesn't necessarily have to be somebody who was close to you in terms of your affection for them. It could have been somebody you really didn't care for at all, but somebody that is within your energetic sphere of influence. So I give you my deepest and most sincere regards, because I've lost several people the last couple of years too, including my younger brother, my mother. My dad is very, very ill right now. Um, there's just a lot that's going around. A lot of people are leaving my life. A lot of the people I grew up with are dying. A lot of my friends are already dead. Most of the people I served with are no longer with us. So I can relate, is what I'm getting at. So again, I offer my ear if you need it. Okay. Now, the overall energy for the week is remaining the same until Saturday, or Sunday actually is when it changes. Saturday's the last day, but it is Othala in the upright. Now, Othala basically speaks about our ancestry and so on, our inherited uh, blood from the ancestors that we get, as we are basically the sum total of everybody who came before us on both sides of our family. So, and I have a very extensive, genealogy apparently. So, and it's exciting now that we have all this modern, uh, and computerized means of establishing basically more of where we came from, and the higher state of accuracy and everything else through our DNA. It's become very fascinating for me in this endeavor, and it helps me to hammer home more in terms of my lineage to both Sweden, Norway, Germany, as well as my entire Celtic, and Scottish, Irish, even Spanish, that I have all of North and South Italy. I got Greece, Albania. I got it all covered. I mean, my relatives definitely got around. So, as you might imagine, I mean, let's face it, the Vikings were basically explorers, right? And I come from that very, as far as star signs are concerned, being that of the Sagittarius, that's exactly what we do. You know, not only are we teachers, generally speaking, but we're also the travelers, those who voyage, explorers, things like that. So I am very much a product of what's come before me. So I'm actually an Eufucus. And Eufucus is basically just for a very short window of time, basically the November 30th through the 11th or 12th of December, or something like that. Uh, Yeah, 30th of November to the 17th of December. So 17 days, that's about it, 17, 18 days out of each year. And it's right in between Scorpio and Sagittarius. So I have all those attributes. Scorpio, very, very much so. That's where I get a lot of my intuitive, psychic type of abilities, because they're very psychic. And of course, the fiery side of both a Leo moon and a Sagittarian sun. So, it is what it is. I just become more and more fascinated with the more things that tie into all this that I learn about. All right, so with all oaks also talks about group prosperity. It talks about inheritances, like I said, whether they're ancestral or some other type of abundance that comes to you. Okay, it can be again your ancestral lands and properties, possessions. Talks about aid in spiritual and physical journeys, a source of safety right now, and your increase and abundance. So it's all very, very lucrative and positive, as the rune Fehu would also be. So very, very good energy for the week. Now, the past energy, what we got is that of Ewas. If I can find it. Where's Ewas? Oh, there it is. All right. And it looks like a letter M in our modern alphabet, but it's their letter E. Okay. Now, Ewas is also in the upright. It talks about horse or horses. It talks about traveling, forward momentum or movement, and a forward direction, if you will, making progress, kind of a thing. But it also talks about working in harmony to make that happen, as in the horse and rider analogy I often use when I get this room, or two horses galloping together to pull a carriage. If they're out of sync, it's a rough ride. Same thing with the rider. It doesn't have any idea what the hell he's doing on a horse. I'll just watch a couple of episodes of Yellowstone. You'll see what I'm talking about. Especially that Jimmy character or whatever. He's that lovable friggin' just fuck up. So that would be me. But I've ridden horses many times growing up and so on. I mean, my parents used to ship me off every summer to like a summer camp type of thing where they had horses. I learned archery and all that kind of stuff. So it was a blessing. Even if they were trying to get rid of me, it was a blessing. So, and I had Big Red was the horse that I always tried to get because it was the biggest horse of all. It was huge. I mean, just massive because I was just a little kid at that time anyway. So that would be the one that I would ride. So I always had a good rapport with animals, and this one treated me well because it certainly could have ate me if it wanted to. So, but anyways, that's what we're talking about, working in harmony. So teamwork, harmony, progress, the ideal marriage or partnership. Again, working together harmoniously to make something happen. That's what the energy is. Now, the present energy is that of Berkana. Now, Berkana speaks about the goddess Berchta. Now, Berchta is found in literally multiple different cultures and so on. It actually translates out to Hecate. There's a comparison there with Hecate. Also a comparison with Diana of the Greek mythology. So there are a lot of comparisons and a lot of these mythological things when you start looking at them and so on. But Berchta is the great white woman, if you will, or the great mother. She was the mother who guided the dead, especially women and children. She was also looked at as something like a Mother Nature kind of a thing. Basically she cared for the animals and the spiritual elementals, the fae, and things of that nature, perhaps. She looked after not just the fauna, but also, of course, the animals that inhabit the lands. So we can look at her in particular light. And that's kind of what the rune itself speaks of. It talks about the birch tree. So a sense of purity, as you know, the birch tree was really referred to as looked at, especially by the Celts and by the Nordic system, if you will, of belief. I don't call it a religion per se, because it gives it a misappropriation, because most people come from a Judeo-Christian perspective. They would look at it perhaps not accurately, but it did carry a great deal of religious connotations as courting. They did have people that went around from village to village and did their variation of magic, or rituals, if you will. And the rituals were basically there to bring homage at certain feasts and holidays or whatever to the great gods and goddesses and so on. They weren't as barbaric as people would believe by simply watching Hollywood movies. They were, like I said many times before, far more refined in many cases than their European counterparts. They are far cleaner, well groomed. Before they go in there and do their, let's go ahead and, pillage a city or whatever the case may be, they made sure that their beards were nicely combed and oiled, and, I guess very similar to the Greeks, before the Spartans went into battle, give their life, they oiled themselves over, they bathed themselves, they took care of themselves, So there's a lot to be said about some of these warrior cultures. But they're not as barbaric as Hollywood would have you believe in many cases. But it talks about also the regenerative power. Of course, it comes with the Great Mother and so on. Spiritual growth, fertility, of course. Renewed promise of beginnings, new beginnings, growth and prospering. Perhaps embarking on a new enterprise of some type. The arousal of desire, love affairs, and new birth. They don't shy around from the obvious, realities of life. And of course, sexual relationships, they are part of everyday living. Okay, so, and then keep in mind also, this is another aspect about their culture that was far ahead of most Western cultures, in that they looked at their women on a very, very similar, if not almost identically equal basis. They were allowed to own land. They basically they carried power. They were able to file for divorce if they ever wanted or needed to. And I mean, they had a lot of different powers that most in the other Western, arena or areas, were not afforded. So they were not the savages that, most people would want you to believe, I suppose. So that is the energy at present. And that could mean that you yourself are embarking in a greater love of your already existing spouse, perhaps a renewed interest in somebody that you have your eye on, or maybe have their eye on you. And it looks like there'll be some passion there. And I envy you, It's been a minute for me, but I'm very content with just being me, because I amuse myself. But anyways, as far as our obstacles and challenges are concerned, we have Perthro. Now, Perthro is in the reverse. It's one of two that we have in reverse. Now, Perthro in reverse is what I was talking about at the beginning of this reading, where the secrets that you've been keeping, or somebody you know has been keeping, are about to be revealed. And it's going to result in, it's going to be an unexpected result. That's basically what this states. As a result of these revealings, there will be some unexpected, repercussions. So there's also going to be a sense of disloyalty. Perhaps somebody with addictions is about ready to be, brought out into the open. A sense of stagnation and loneliness. All these things, and or one of these things, perhaps, depending on who you are and your current situation might be, are about ready to be revealed. Okay. Now, as far as our help and advice, we have another very powerful rune. This is the goddess Freya's rune, Fehu. It can also be associated with the goddess Frigga. Now, Frigga is the actual wife of Odin. So it's confusing. It confused me for a while. Wait a minute, Freya, Frigga? Are they one and the same or not? There is some overlap, so sometimes it's hard to tell, just like there's some overlap when you really look at the characteristics and attributes and traits of the god Tyr with that of Woden. There are similarities, okay? So, remember, there's a long period of time that's come and gone between the time these were first, recognized and practiced till our modern day, So, and of course, anytime you do any translations and so on from one language to another, you also lose some kind of truth along the way, unless you have somebody who's very, very well versed, maybe even grew up in the land in which, that information is being deciphered from, then you have a better chance of really getting the truth of that particular translation, so to speak. Anyway, I digress again. So Freya, for the help and advice, talks about, and this is in the upright, so it's very good because, again, it talks about abundance and everything else. So apparently you're going to have the resources available to you for whatever it is that you may need to get through this trying time that's coming, okay? So that means, your wealth, power, material possessions and gain, luck, financial strength, hope and plenty, your social success, foresight, fertility, all these things, creation, the ability to create, all of these things are available to you with the energy that comes from the goddess. Okay? So we can overcome this. Now the future, unfortunately, is that of Rado in the reverse. Now Rado in the reverse is where we get the possibility of death. Okay? Now Rado in the reverse also talks about an upset of plans. Somebody's plans are about to be basically turned upside down. Okay? And again, this is going to result in the upheavals that we talked about, revealed secrets. Perhaps it's going to result in some delays, unexpected travel may be necessary, a crisis, sensing or feeling of rigidity, stasis, not being able to move but knowing you need to or whatever. Maybe feeling a sense of injustice, somebody being irrational, so irrationality, disruptions, again, dislocation, you may have to move, like I stated, perhaps being demoted at a job. Talk about, somebody who may be delirious or delusional, and of course, like I already stated, a possibility of death. So that is what the future holds. Now, again, you have my greatest sympathies for those of you who are about ready to experience it. And if it is somebody close to you, then, just take heart that they're probably in a much better place. And they're no longer suffering if they were diseased or infirmed or just ravaged by addictions and unable to overcome them. That's just life. And some people, it does take a few lifetimes to really learn their lessons and to overcome these very difficult challenges. Those in the collective understand that because they themselves have gone through a lot of hardship to get to this point. So, and that's why we are to be the mentors, to help others who are experiencing these things now. To help ease somewhat of their burden, not to take their burden upon yourself. That's not your job, nor is it going to allow them to learn their lesson. But you can actually help them to find their own way. Again, a teacher is not somebody who points out a bunch of facts and says repeat them. He's the one that points in the direction and allows that person to find the answers on their own. Okay? He's not telling them what to believe. He's just giving them a door that opens up so that can look at all the possibilities and come to their own conclusions. Okay, doing it in a safe manner as well. So there's a lot to be said about teaching and modern academia versus the reality of what it's supposed to be, things of that nature. But I digress again. I will stop at this very short reading, and we will leave it at 20 minutes. As always, I wish all of you nothing but victory out there, and that includes my karmic cross-watchers as well. I hope that you will learn your lessons and join the gang. The real warriors are out here doing it, making it happen, and changing this world. And you're about to see it in a very, very big way, I think, in the worldwide forum. So, with that being said, y'all take care. God bless, and I'll see you again here very soon. I'm going to be doing another reading, I believe. So, until then, take care.